Hi, it's Music Man Austin Simmons here again. This will be just my second YouTube video I'll be posting since I joined YouTube many months ago. It's been about, I would say 5 months since I posted that first video in which I talked about that legendary debut album by Pink Floyd, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. I'm really sorry about the wait. But I'm going to be talking about another album. I'll be talking about other Pink Floyd albums in the future. In future videos, I'll be doing that. And let's go back to the year 1977. That was obviously a big year in American history. Jimmy Carter had been sworn in as the 39th President of the United States. The world was rocked by the death of the King himself, Elvis Presley. It was a year in which the world was introduced to the first Star Wars movie. The first Star Wars movie came out that year, and, you know, the movie that was really dominating the box office that year, just tearing the box office apart, was obviously Saturday Night Fever. You know, the image everybody was familiar with was John Travolta in his white polyester suit, his platform shoes, you know, pointing to the heavens. The soundtrack to that movie was just dominating the charts. It was the Bee Gees songs that they wrote for that soundtrack that they were also recorded as well for that soundtrack, like Staying Alive, Night Fever, How Deep Is Your Love. It was all over radio. And so in that year, in an era where disco music was at its height, when people all over America were putting on their polyester suits, their platform shoes, going to discotheques, and, you know, in the era of Saturday Night Fever, disco music, discotheques, giant mirror balls, I guess is what they call it, disco balls. You know, this album came out later on in 1977. I think it was released on October 21st, 1977, and I'm talking about Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell, and this is definitely was a far cry from anything that was recorded that year. There was a lot of record companies that didn't want to sign Meatloaf. There were a lot of, you know, record companies who thought that the kind of music that he was singing was basically theater music. It wouldn't be playable on radio. There are 7 songs on this album. The first one was Bat Out of Hell. The second one was You Took the Words Right Out of My Mouth, Hot Summer Night. The third one was Heaven Can't Wait. The fourth was All Revved Up with No Place to Go. The fifth one was 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad. The sixth one was Paradise by the Dashboard Light. And the seventh one was For Crying Out Loud. So all these songs were written by a terrific songwriter named Jim Steinman. And, you know, people criticized the songs that were being recorded for this album as being, you know, just theater music. And, you know, people criticized Meatloaf for his appearance, you know, at an era where you had all these artists having huge hits, you know, with disco songs, and in an era where John Travolta was Hollywood's golden boy with his role in Saturday Night Fever. Who in the world would want to see a 300-pound fat guy on stage? Who in the world would want to buy a record that's mostly appeared to be theater music? But, you know, it is one of the greatest albums of all time. It was included in Rolling Stone's 2003 list as being one in their 2003 list as one of the 500 greatest albums of all time. and it definitely deserves its place right up there. It's one of those albums that you hear it for every song on the album for the very first time, and you're hooked. You're hooked on this type of music from this album after hearing every song on it for the very first time. And it's gone on to become one of the most successful records in history. Since its release almost 35 years ago, it's gone on to sell well over 40 million copies. I mean, and it's still selling big today, you know. Even in the era of other artists, other younger pop artists, you know, there's still great demand for this album here. And, you know, 1977 was not only the era of disco music, it was the era of punk rock, of course. One of the greatest albums to come out of that year, and one of the greatest albums of all time, was from the Sex Pistols. It was called Never Mind the Bullocks, Here's the Sex Pistols. And that was without doubt the greatest punk rock album of all time. I mean, it was the only studio album they ever recorded, I think, but it was still, if you were to look for the perfect punk rock album, you know, Never Mind the Bullocks is it. That's came out in 1977, just a great album. So I'll make a video about that album later on in the future. But the first song off this album, Bat Out of Hell, I mean, I've seen the video and I'm always hooked. I've always been hooked to that video, and you know, Jim Steinman's talent as a songwriter is just phenomenal when you hear this album. I mean, Bat Out of Hell, and just such a great love song, and there's that cool motorcycle sound that I think is made with an electric guitar, I believe, and but you know, if you haven't brought this album, I mean, go out, buy it at Walmart, buy it at FYE, download it off of iTunes. It's a must-have for any record collection. It's just simply a must-have. Alright, well, thanks for watching. Please comment, and I'll be back on YouTube with another video real soon. Alright? Take care.